Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to our Jupiter in the seventh house of your Navamsa chart video. And we're going to be discussing what happens when Jupiter is in the seventh house of your D9 Navamsa chart, which is a divisional chart in Vedic astrology related to marriage, the strength of your planets, the second half of your life, who you develop into, and how the internal self of you eventually comes out to the world as well. So it's a very important chart. It kind of shows the juice, of your planet. And if I would say Navamsha is the juice and Sastyamsha is the elixir, which is literally like one drop. The Soma. See, Sastyamsha is the Soma, you know. But literally, this is the juice that you can drink. Okay. And as always, if you do not know, if you have Jupiter in the seventh house of your Navamsha, or what sign it's in and what your other astrological details are, for that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, consultations, and a link to my school, Maga Vedic Academy, where I am teaching everything from A through Z. So let's talk about Jupiter in the seventh. This is a particular placement, okay? Imagine the companionship and the unionship you share with your spouse is more like a spiritual ashram, a gurukul, a temple than an actual relationships or an actual marriage and how it's supposed to be. Because you have to understand who is the karka of unionship and marriage. It is Venus. And Venus is enemy with Jupiter because Jupiter discriminates. Jupiter only selects a select few people. Like if Jupiter was to teach astrology, Jupiter is like, okay, let me check horoscopes of 100 people. Okay, maybe 5 of these I will teach because you're worthy of learning. Where Shukra would be like, you all want to know the magic of God and how everything came to be. Let me teach you all. Because even the worst person who learns this science will become a good person. So now you're putting Jupiter in the domain of Venus. And what happens is this is where Jupiter starts putting its discernment in the marriage. Meaning the marriage will be full of criticism. Marriage will be where either you or the other person are trying to correct and perfect the other person. It's kind of becomes like a lesson in a school relationship. The people that you keep running into in your life and the person you eventually end up with is going to be the type of person who's going to kind of engross their wisdom and knowledge upon you. Whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. But the whole unionship is based on how much have you learned, what have you gained, how am I to you as a guru, or who you are to me as a guru. That's what happens. And due to this, usually a normal spirit, a normal person cannot take the heaviness Jupiter brings in the marriage. Because Jupiter is, after all, the most benefic planet. Why? Because its job is to give true wisdom. But there is a slight difference between Guru and Brihaspati. Guru and Brihaspati are kind of like fraternal twins coming from the same womb. Because a guru will accept anyone and everyone and show them the light of God. Where Brihaspati is more like wanting to only deal with the devas, wanting to only deal with the higher, well-qualified beings. And this can definitely bring a battle of ego, because because whoever has this Jupiter in their seventh house, what they're going to try to do is they're going to resist and fight that imbalance of relationship. They're like, why are you just always trying to be a teacher and guru to me? I'm your spouse, I'm your husband, I'm your wife. So that's one big thing that occurs with this Jupiter. Now, as much as Jupiter in the seventh house of the Navamsha, not the birth chart, that's different. Jupiter in the seventh house of the birth chart in the Navamsa of Jupiter, definitely promises marriage. But the thing is, the marriage will always come with a curriculum, will always come with lessons. And I'm sure you guys are out there, and I would love to hear from you in the comment section about this. But to this day, I have not found a person who has Jupiter in the seventh house and they're completely just satisfied and happy with the married life. Now, nobody's happy with their married life. Everybody just wants to run away from their spouse on the weekend and just not wanting to deal with their shenanigans sometimes. But here, it feels too heavy on a person. Why? Because you are put into a position. The reason why you have had this Jupiter is because you most likely disturbed your guru's life in the past life. Like, for example, there could be affairs between teacher and a student. Something of this sort could have occurred in the past life. This time Jupiter is in the seventh house, meaning you are to learn lesson about what marriage is, what unionship is, due to certain circumstances that have occurred in the past life. So those lessons become heavy on us because we just want to have romantic dinners and a lot of sex and have children and go on vacation, have a regular life, where this type of a Jupiter can actually give a relationship like Princess Diana and Prince Charles, where on their honeymoon he's reading a book and she is reading some magazine, because of the fact there's too many rules, regulations, principles involved. Now, if let's say you have Venus in the Lagna, Venus is in the ascendant aspecting the seventh, that's definitely a blessing, where the nullification of this Jupiterian, too much of a benefic aspect, too much of a wisdom aspect nullifies and brings more realism of unionship into it. So don't just think that Jupiter in the seventh house is a very boring marriage. No, you have to see the zest of other planets. If Mars Venus aspect somehow the seventh house, there will be some passion, there will be this love for unionship, and perhaps you love learning from your spouse. Like, for example, your spouse knows astrology like no other. You are interested in astrology and you keep asking them. You're like, oh my God, I'm so lucky I'm married to you. You're telling me everything that I wanted to know about astrology or Vedic astrology. And also, the other thing that happens with the person who has this Jupiter in the seventh, too much optimism towards their marriage and the person that they are to be with. Too much optimism. Oh, my spouse is going to be the most beautiful and rich and this, and we're going to have 3-4 different homes in these places, and we're going to do all these things. And then we're going to be moving into our, vacation home, and that's going to become our retirement home. You put too much onto the marriage. You will not put this onto your spouse. You will not tell them, okay, I'm looking for this and this, but you project so much what you want from the other person that most of the time it does not come true, because not everybody will get that particular person who will just fulfill these big ambitions of yours. So this is one of those paradoxical placements of Jupiter that we have to be quite analytical about looking and studying it, because conjunction aspects will always make definite difference in this particular place. Now, if let's say Jupiter is in its own sign, in exaltation, sure, that's a great placement of Jupiter, but that doesn't mean that the Kark Avastha of Jupiter suddenly gets dissolved. It's like you're putting a guru simply in their ashram instead of putting a guru at a WeWork or something, or putting a guru, in a Starbucks, putting a guru in a brothel. That's all it is the guru will not change. Guru just feels much more comfortable in its own asana. Okay. So anyway, guys, this was my analysis of Jupiter in the seventh house of your Navamsa chart. If you're new to the channel, subscribe below. If you want to know where your Jupiter is placed, all the astrological details. Check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.